Good evening and welcome to Happy Wednesday today, and welcome to Talking Sports with Evan. And happy to be joined by a special guest of the show, friend of the show, good dude all around, Bart Winkler. It's been quite a minute since we've actually talked, but I appreciate you coming on and talking everything what we can think of Wisconsin sports wise.
Yeah, good time for it. Evan, thanks for having me on. There's certainly a lot to discuss. There doesn't seem to be a dull moment with sports, especially the Brewers are doing well. Packers are always in back of our head. And then the Bucks have gone from top to bottom in about maybe not the quickest way you could do it, but the most embarrassing way. So that's been fun.
They were fighting for a 4 or 5 seed last year. I think they ended up with a 5, and this year, well, a lot different. So
Very bad. Yeah, very bad.
before we do get started, I know you have your own podcast. I do have it linked at the bottom here, or this particular. But where can people check you out? Those that want to hear what Bart Winkler has to say.
Yeah, thanks, Bart Winkler. Bart Winkler Show on whatever social media platform you choose. A lot of the content is put out, Spotify, Apple, where you get your pods, and then YouTube. But the podcast is called Into the Winklerverse. It was the Bart Winkler Show, and then I had the Bart Winkler Show, and now the Bart Winkler Show is not the Bart Winkler Show. So we're still into the Winklerverse, which is a fun way to say everything that happens in and around the show is part of the shenanigans of the verse, and it's going well. And again, thanks for having me.
If people want to find the X account for the Into the Winklerverse, it is at the bottom of the screen, running across the bottom, and that's where you can also find Bart on X. And I don't know if you're on any of the other Blue Sky or Threads or anything like that, but
I'm on Blue Sky. I post there sporadically.
I'm the same way.
Threads gives me visceral pain. I cannot handle it, just because every time I open Threads, and maybe this is the algorithm the one time I was using it, but it's always like it's people that are like, we see in the stars, us witches, that tomorrow is going to be a day of great, and then nothing ever happens, of course. But it's like, what are you? What is? How did I get here? So I don't know. I don't really. I'm not. Facebook, I do put stuff on from the show. Twitter, obviously, or X, and then I try to drive people to the YouTube, if anything.
Yeah. Sorry, my second screen's deciding it wants to fall. Of
Good.
course, I'll have to do in the middle of the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you can find Talking Sports with Evan live on Facebook and YouTube and X or Twitter every week. And you can always listen to the podcast anywhere you get your podcast. And, there's as you mentioned, so much going on. Don't even know where to start. But I think we're going to start with the Brewers. Lost Boston today. But overall, they've gotten off to a pretty good start. I know injuries, I think, are starting to catch up to them a little bit. But what are your early vibes on this year's Brewer team?
It's very similar to last year and the year before that, and really any year, I think, with Pat Murphy at the helm. Obviously, when Craig Counsell went to the Cubs, I don't think a lot of us, maybe some people say they understood it. I did not like it. I don't like it to this day. I'll never turn back on that. But we were talking one of the shows we're doing leading up to that. And I had a good run of being in the clubhouse. Not that I did a lot of like in sports. There's like McKelvey will ask the questions, and Rosiak and, Wagner, these guys ask the questions. And I would sit in the back of the scrum and just make sure my microphone is in there. I was physically there.
In there.
But yeah, I wasn't cutting it up, but I could still observe.
Yeah.
And what I felt like I observed is I first started doing stuff in the clubhouse in 2015 for Renick's first or last year.
Yeah.
And then he got fired, and you could tell there was this is a sense of fresh air here. Counsell came in, local kid, had been in the organization. There's a lot of excitement. And I think there's a lot that Craig Counsell did well with the Brewers. Craig Tober, all this stuff. And it seemed like baseball was adding rules to harm the Brewers if they could figure something out. Oh, what was it? Was it Randy Wolf? No, it wasn't Randy Wolf. It was the other guy. What's his name?
He just played with the Brewers again last year, the year before.
Who's the guy that started game 3?
Yeah.
The pitcher.
He was with the Brewers again not that long ago. He had Tommy John surgery.
I'll figure it out. Wade Miley.
Wade Miley. There we go.
Wade Miley. I just went to type it in and I remembered. But so there's a lot of change. We're not going to let that happen again. So Craig had a successful run with the Brewers. There's no doubt about it. I do think towards the end, that demeanor, like the just that like never too high, never too low thing, I think can be a positive trait. But in 162 games of a baseball season, there's going to be lows and there's going to be highs, and I don't think you should be even keel the whole time. Like, you don't want to be raging all the time like a Brian Price with the Reds and then it's a disaster, but you need to have a good sense of self, good sense of humor, good motivation, good like relatability. And I think not being in the Pat Murphy locker rooms, just seeing what everybody else sees, if you've got like an issue, like I'm batting second, but I want to bat third or something. Remember Braun and Fielder did that once?
Yeah.
I think Pat Murphy not only is more inviting for those people, but you're going to get a straight answer. And he might, be Pat Murphy about it, but you're going to go out of there knowing what he wants. And I think with Craig, just the demeanor, it started to go into the team. You always, I think, play as a reflection of your coach after a while. So I think they needed a change anyway. And to go from Counsell to Murph, who, of course, knew Counsell and was on Counsell's staff, for him to win the manager of the year 2 years in a row. I mean, he could win again because they traded all these guys and they're trading like the young guys. They're not like trading guys that, okay, he's at the end of his rope. And they're trading guys that are top 5 voting for rookie of the year. So they're still trying to get younger, still trying to get even more team control. And you don't know what you're going to see at the major league level. They started hot, lost a couple now. I think this is a team that if they are healthy, yeah, there's going to be good vibes and they're going to be hitting well and pitching well. But you do have to make sure that those frontline guys are there. Once you start getting into the depth, I mean, they'll churn that pitching, bottom of the pitching rotation or the bullpen. They'll have guys batting that you're going to totally forget about by the end of the season. But they are playing Brewer baseball. We know what it is. We do know what it is now, and they're doing it.
So I know you said you're around the clubhouse for a little while with Counsell. Obviously, Murphy was there too. When they gave Murphy the job, I know because Counsell wanted to bring Murphy with him to Chicago. Yeah. And the Brewers didn't want to lose Murphy. They wanted to keep Murphy around, and ultimately they gave him the main job. Like, what was your initial thoughts when they gave Murphy that job?
Well, Counsell leaving was shock, and the Cubs thing sucked. With Murphy, because then Ricky Weeks, right, was on the bench right away, and we're like, oh, he's just going to be the
manager in waiting.
Yeah. But, Murphy, he could be in this role for a while. I don't know how long he wants to do it. Certainly guys have managed a lot older than where he is now. I mean, Joe Madden, didn't he take over the Cubs when he was 70?
Something like that.
Maybe it is, so he can
moving to the front office role. I think is kind of telling how long he wants to be around.
Yeah. So I think Pat Murphy, there was some excitement that there was like the continuity, but also it was going to be different. Pat Murphy's Brewers are different than Craig Counsell's Brewers. You can see it when you watch the Cubs and Craig making these decisions that don't always work out. So you can see it. And I think that this is obviously the best case scenario. The guy that takes over for a guy who was so highly regarded that the Cubs took him has won the manager of the year twice in a row. And if there's a reason to like not doubt the Brewers, Pat Murphy is a big part of the reason. You do wonder in sports, how much does a coach make a difference, especially at the pro level and in baseball too. Yeah, they make decisions, but how much can you get out of these guys day to day? It's clear that whatever he's doing, it works. And sometimes it gets stupid. Oh, he pulled a pancake out of his pocket or
a turtle.
Now there's a turtle. But for the guys on his team, it works. Yeah. And if it works, you're going to get good results. And that's what's been happening so far.
I know Chicago is better year 2 with Counsell. Year 3, not sure how they're going to do because they seem to be losing pitchers left and right with injuries. But How much do you think Craig Counsell misses a Pat Murphy on the bench next to him? Because Counsell uses a lot of analytics. That's how he manages. He goes by the numbers, but sometimes you got to go by your gut. And I think that's something that Pat Murphy can do pretty well. And that's where it seems like Counsell is lacking a little bit in Chicago. Doesn't really know how to go by the gut. Do you think he's missing Murphy on his bench down in Chicago right now?
I think he'd say no, but he would think in his head, I got to lie to say no here. I think the whole, I don't think we say analytics in the same way we did maybe 3-4 years ago. Like, okay, it's part of the game and stuff. The problem with analytics is the word is now the word people use when it's something they don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, why would that guy, there's been lefty righty splits forever. There's been stuff people have been doing with the lineups forever. We're going to put in this pitcher. No, we're not. We're going to put, no, we're not. That's all been analytics. It's just now it's more driven on where you're going to hit that baseball, how harder. So they like put it into different things. Strikeouts are actually good in some way, or they're not as bad as other stuff. The 3 true outcomes. I think that you can't be a manager that goes straight analytics. You can't be a manager that just goes straight guts. You gotta use the analytics to help your gut decide you where you need to go. That's what I think, or your heart, or whatever you want to say. So I think Pat does a good job of that. Counsell, I don't know how much it matters, but every decision he makes, it looks like he's really grinding through the decision, and he regrets the decision as soon as he makes it. But he would also regret he's never happy with the decision he makes. Sometimes it'll work out, sometimes it won't. But I don't think that you can be the Cubs and be the pitcher that comes in or be the batter that comes in and look at Craig being like, when he makes a move, rubbing all over his face and be like, oh, this guy believes in me. So it's not, the gut, it is the gut thing. But I think a lot of with Craig is, he got $8 million, dude, and I didn't. But I don't know that he's got the personality to be the manager to get the most out of his team. And with the Cubs now, the Brewers have topped them the 2 years that he's been there. So we do have that case in point. The Cubs do have more talent. They're able to spend more money. So maybe they get enough talent. It doesn't matter what the manager does. But then why do you need to pay this guy $8 million? He's done nothing that David Ross couldn't do.
Yeah, that's kind of a quick hook, I think, on David Ross, but I digress.
But then David Ross hasn't found another job. If he was so great, he'd be managing already.
True. For Pat Murphy, he was college baseball coach for a while, had a good success there. Do you think that's got to be one of the big reasons? 2-1, they stay so young, and 2, the fact that he's able to coach so well because he's used to coaching those younger guys. That's got to be a big reason, right? Just the coaching college kids experience.
Yeah, and even just like you have to meet your players where they are. Like, you can have your personality and you can have your demeanor, but any time that I've coached anything, which is really just soccer for kids, yeah, I've coached 6, 10, 18 different levels, 20. But anytime you're coaching, you got to make sure that, like, okay, you have a way, but everyone is going to react to your way differently. So when you're managing, when you're coaching, you have to find ways, and there's going to be some guys you're tighter with, or that that you feel more simpatico with than another guy.
I think Yelich and Murphy's an example of that.
Yeah, but you do have to find out what manager you are to that person. And then all at the same time, be a manager for the team. And I think when you have a personality, I feel like Pat Murphy's personality, I feel like he can, Swiss Army knife it. Like, I got to be a corkscrew for this guy. I got to be a knife for this guy. I got to be a can opener for this guy. Counsell's just the solid structure of the Swiss Army knife. It doesn't open. He's just always Counsell. I think you do have to act differently to get the most out of your different guys. I think Pat obviously does that a lot better job than Counsell did.
Definitely understands how to relate to people more than Counsell and Renicky both did. ceiling for the Brewers. Last year, I figured they would be wild card team, losing the divisional round. And obviously, they exceeded expectations, winning 97 games, getting to the NLCS. What are your expectations for this year's team?
I think the last few years I've thought, well, they can't do what they did the year prior, and then they do, or better. And with 97 wins, you're not going to top that. But can you even say that with like the Brewers? I don't think there's any, and they got off to a pretty decent start, but I don't think there's any chance other than everybody getting hurt that they're a non-winning club. This team will be at least 500 because they care too much. They care too much. They're going to be over 500. From then, it's just a matter of, are we talking high 80s or low 90s? And I'd probably go in the higher 80s. 90 would be good. We'll see how the rest of the division does. But then I don't think like you can count them out. I think last year, one thing that so one of my like guiding lights, I don't think I'll ever see the Brewers win a World Series. I just don't think I will. I don't think they're not going to keep trying. And maybe if a salary cap comes in, that'll change things. But in this structure, that would be the most unbelievable thing that I think I could ever see. Because even when they get so good, there's still the blockades of the system. You're going to run into the Dodgers. And yeah, the Dodgers can spend a lot of money. The thing that bothered me about the Dodgers last year, if you look back, it's like, oh yeah, we did well against Emmett Sheehan and some of these other guys. Blake Snell barely pitched all year. Yamamoto was hurt. Shohei wasn't pitching. The Dodgers can afford to basically save their guys for the quick sprint of the playoffs. And then the Brewers have to do everything they can to get to that point, are going to run out of steam. That's where I think the money gives you more of an advantage. It's not so much the frontline guys, but who you can replace those guys with, the depth you're going to have behind it. And we talked about it earlier, the Brewers' depth, that will catch up with them if they're struggling with, a handful of injuries. So they can go as far as the system takes them. If they're going to go farther than getting swept or just losing to the Dodgers in the NLCS, as we've seen twice this last decade, they're going to need to push a little more in. I think even last year when you knew this team, best record in baseball, and you knew that would continue, I'm not saying trade like Cooper Pratt, they're not going to do that, or Mate, but they gotta get a little more inflection. And if you get to that point, if you have a nice 3 months and then you're at the trade deadline, that you can make some moves. I don't think they've ever done that yet. Whether it's years that, okay, it's trade deadline. Here's Trevor Rosenthal and Shelby Miller. Here's Anthony Swarzak. Here's Jonathan Scope. No. They haven't made how can you? But they haven't made a CC Sabathia type move since 2008, which they did because they wanted to get to the playoffs at all cost. I haven't seen them make a we need to get to the World Series at all cost move. And I don't know if they think that's sustainable or not, but that's something that I think could push them over the edge. But then, yeah, you would have the ramifications of that if it didn't work out.
Yeah, I think Zach Greinke is probably the last.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All the chips to the table, middle of the table type move that they've made.
And Yelich and Kane, but these are like, I need at the deadline where you're good. At the deadline, let's go. We have King Ace suited. And a queen and a queen, same suit, came up. Let's go. Let's push our chips in.
They make the Greinke trade in December of 2010 because they knew the 2011 team was going to be very good. They were going to wait till the deadline, and I think they were expecting good things from Yelich and Kane, but I don't think they were expecting like MVP caliber type numbers from Yelich, and I think he exceeded expectations more than they wanted. But yeah, I wish they could or would be able to make a move for a more productive third baseman, for example, or shortstop, to a short-term move. You got all these young guys in the minors that could become impact players 2, 3, 4 years down the road, but we may not have a season in 2027. So Let's make that move.
And you're good, and we'll see this year, but last year they were good enough to make that move.
They just didn't.
But then what are you going to trade? Are you going to trade Cooper Pratt for 3 months of a guy, and then you turn around and sign him to this long-term deal? I'm not asking them to trade, the top 5 prospects. but I can't have another trade. I can't have another season, especially with what we think might happen, where you're the best record in baseball for the last month and you take on a pitcher who's hurt his salary so you can get another guy who eventually gets hurt. And then Brandon Lockridge. You need more than that if you're at that point.
Yeah. Moving on to the Bucks.
Next.
Big falling off the last number of years since the last championship. You look at the whole fiasco with the Giannis and the stories coming out that I take with a big grain of salt because where they're coming from. Because there's one big piece Shams leaves out of when he's talking about things going on with Giannis, and that's what Giannis is actually saying to Laurie Nickel or Eric Name or I can never pronounce Jeff's last name, Jim
Ozarski.
Or Zarski. He's leaving out what Giannis is physically saying to them, but he's only putting it one side. But what are your thoughts in general with all that fiasco going on? We'll get to Doc next. I just want to get your thoughts on just the whole Giannis thing.
I think Giannis so I'm watching this. I got to talk about this show. I'm watching this show For All Mankind. It's on Apple TV. It's like a what if kind of thing. It's like, what if the Soviets landed on the moon first? And it's an alternate reality then about space and, history. And I'm so wrapped up into it, maybe because it's a good show, but also like the alternate history part of that. Because you live your one life. You live your one life and you wonder about stuff, but you live your one life. I'm saying that because I think Giannis likes the life he's living in and would love a life where he's a Buck forever and loyal to the one team. But he's also really wondering what lies for him in that multiverse. What would it be like if I played in New York? What would it be like if I play with another superstar at the height of their game? What would it be like if I played in Golden State? I think has a lot of questions, which is fine when you're in, anything for a long time. You do wonder if the grass is greener. And I think he wants to know what that's like. And I think it's hard for him trying to figure out how do I get that without being a bad guy? Do I make the Bucks look bad? Can I just come out and say I want something different? Will people be mad at me? I don't think he's got one foot in the ocean, one on the sand. And you got to make a decision at some point. I don't like there's been reports that he wants to trade or he wants to stay. I don't think even when signing these contracts, he's even 100%. He's like, this is what I'm going to do now. Because I think he'll wake up one day and say, I'm a Buck for the rest of my life. And maybe fall asleep thinking that too. But there might be 7 times during the day where he's thinking, but what if I was there? And what if I was there? And could I go there? So I'm like 51-49 that he still stays a Buck and signs. They've done everything they can for him. His brothers are lobbing basketballs to each other in real NBA games. There's not much more, not with the herd, not in practice. These are real NBA games where paying customers are giving their hard-earned money to watch Alex Antetokounmpo pass to Thanasis Antetokounmpo. What honestly more can the Bucks give you,
Well, I think with Giannis, if he wants to, have 1 foot in, 1 foot out, he got a perfect person to reach out to ask how it felt. Like his teammate that just went back to Portland, and Dame. Dame kind of was the same way towards the tail end before he got traded to the Bucks, and Dame appeared to be miserable away from. Not necessarily he didn't like being in Milwaukee. He was miserable being away from Portland. Like Portland was a community he knew. His kids were in Portland. His wife, ex-wife, was in Portland. His family's in Portland. His friends are out there, and he decides to, move on and try it in Milwaukee. And first opportunity he gets as a free agent, what does he do? Right back to Portland.
When I talk about I've seen him on public a lot. I used to see him at my kids' swim lessons because his kids were in the same place for a good year. So there'd be, every week his wife was there, but there's a good handful of times Giannis is there. And I did not see, like everybody gets on their phone and they're like, Giannis is here. Giannis is here. I didn't see anybody bother him. I didn't see any, people say, hey, man, love you. Thanks. No one's asking for pictures. They understand he is in a private business with his kids. They leave him alone. And I think even when he's like walking around, if you are going downtown and you see Giannis walking to the arena from wherever, you might roll out your window and say, hey, Giannis, good luck tonight, or you're going to get that. But I don't think there's anything that's intrusive. I don't think people, and it's because he's been here a long time and we watched him grow up, and that's just the way like Milwaukee is. But also you've been here in the small town. Everybody's got their story about where they've seen Giannis or where you've run in, or somebody that does. So if you're good, because remember when Dame got here and 10,000 people were in front of Fiserv Forum for him?
And he can't.
Yeah, because it's something new. Because there's a new guy. So if Giannis gets traded anywhere, that's going to happen to him there. And it might be cool at first, but if it's a bigger city, it's a bigger fan base, there's going to be more fans. It's just he's not going to get, you don't know what you got till it's gone, okay? And you can look out and say, I wonder what life would be like there, but are you going to be holed up in a Manhattan apartment? Are you going to have to live in a, secure neighborhood somewhere in West Beverly Hills? I mean, I guess he lives where? River Hills, which is okay. But it's not like people are whatever. But he's in town a lot and you see him a lot. And I don't think he's going to get that anywhere else. I think he knows that. I think there's a lot to weigh. And I do think it's going to come down to basketball for him. It's like, can I win here? If I can win here, the problem is they have done so many things to try to help make him win here that didn't work out, that other teams can be in a much better starting spot. Oh, we can help you win here. We've got this guy. We got picks we don't need. We've got a better cast. We've got better depth. Your team's screwed because you've been trying to keep you so long. It's like, do you keep repairing the house that is falling apart that you love? Or do you just say, screw it, I'm going to move into a custom built house that might be different. It might not feel like home, but it's in a better situation, or at least, better amenities to start. So I think basketball is going to be the main driver at the end of the day, as you would say. I feel like it's as right down the middle as it can be.
Yeah, I used to just always be like, he ain't going nowhere. This is the first time that I think he actually could leave. Last week.
Well, that's why, Evan, it sucks with Sham's involvement.
He's been talking about for a decade.
And there was never any chance. And then there finally is. And so we should have the right discussion about it now, but everyone's just so like, oh, I'm so annoyed. Well, yeah. We should have talked about the last 8 years then.
Shams will take a victory lap, even though he's been saying it's going to happen the last decade. The one time it does, he'll take a victory lap. See, I told you I was right, even though you've been wrong like the last 8 years.
That's the main thing. The main thing is nothing to do with Giannis or Bucks basketball for me. I just don't want Shams. I just don't want to see him on air giving that report. That's really all it comes down to for me. Pettiest man you'll ever meet, me.
Yeah, and so last week in my show, or a week before, I forget exactly when, how time it is, talked about how I think the Bucks need a total reset, both in the GM role and the coaching role. I think Doc's retiring at the end of the year. He kind of hinted at that yesterday. But as much as Horst did to build that 2021 championship team, I don't know if he has anything left to do to try to get this team back into being a championship contender. I think they got to do a new general manager as well. I guess, what are your thoughts? Do you think John Horst gets an opportunity to rebuild either with or without Giannis, or do you think they need to go a different direction there too?
I don't know. I mean, his drafting hasn't been great.
Yeah, his only good draft pick's really been Dante DiVincenzo, and there's
been a lot of trades he made where it's like, wow, Horst, what a trade. but it was also trading away a guy he signed and paid way more money to than he should have. So there's been a lot of that. I think where he has been in, like, to use the kind of analogies I've been using with Horst. So let's say you're at sea, you're on a boat. It starts to, there's a hole, springs a leak. What do? You take something to patch up that hole. But then whatever you took, you actually took something that you need for the sail. Oh, well, now what do I do there? So you keep like taking, I guess, rob Peter to pay Paul sort of thing. Eventually, there's nothing more you can do. You're just trying to stay afloat. You're screwed. That's what's happened with him. They had injuries, so we got to move on from guys. Got to fire Bud. Well, then we need to hire Griffin. Well, that doesn't work out. So we need to hire Doc. Well, that's not working out. Well, why do we need to stretch Dame's contract to Miles Turner? Because Brooke was no good anymore. We need a big. And Dame was a guy we traded Drew for, which maybe we shouldn't have done that. And these moves, you just keep going back. And that's, I think, Horst's main job has been keep Giannis. You'll probably win a title if you do that, but that's the main job, is to keep him. And you're sort of like out of bullets here. You're out of arrows. You're out of tools. Maybe a change is needed. I don't know. The coach has to go. I think with Horst right now, it's like whether he stays or whether he goes, I don't
trust him drafting a lottery pick this year.
Well, no, and I don't even trust that he's the one making that decision. I don't know how big Jimmy Haslam's involvement is. Is Jimmy Haslam going to draft a guy because he played well in the tournament, or I think Doc Rivers, Jimmy Haslam is Deshaun Watson, Jimmy Haslam. Now, these are different gentlemen that enjoy different things of leisure, I'm sure. But I said this the other day. You remember when Mark Attanasio signed Andrew McCutchen, and it didn't look like the Brewers had any money, but they gave $10 million to Andrew McCutchen. And they said, why did you sign Andrew McCutchen if you have no money? Because it's Andrew McCutchen. He made an exception because this was a guy he was fond of. I think that's what happened with Haslam. I don't think John Horst hired Doc Rivers. No. If John Horst was truly in charge, there were 10 to 15 games, not where it was just like, oh, they could fire their coach. You need to fire your coach. And they didn't do it. And there's been a handful of them.
The guy in Cleveland to be here right now.
Yeah. So I don't know how big of a difference he would make, but man, I wonder.
Coaching wise, we all know I was never a fan of Doc getting the job to begin with. I think it was just, as you mentioned, Haslam wanted to give his buddy, somebody he admired, a job, and Doc wanted to coach again. So he's like, hey, Doc, come here. If they were that quick to pull the plug on Griffin, should have just let Prunty finish the year and do a real coaching search at the end of the year. And now, when the mess that we're in now, because they decided to, hey, let's give the job to Doc. Any coach in particular that you are hoping that Haslam or Horst or whoever considers? I know Malone's now in North Carolina for some reason. Anyone you consider that you would like to take the job?
I think Steve Kerr's contract's running up. Take him over here. I think the thing with Doc, like what you said, is Griffin was fired with a winning record, and he's fired for
13 or something like that.
31, maybe. Yeah, 31-13. He was fired, and they said, look, he just can't. Okay. So let's say, okay, you make that exception for Adrian Griffin. The record's good, but you don't see it working, so you fire him. With Doc, Doc's not this good of a guy, and he's not this good of a coach. I know he's a Hall of Fame coach, but he's not this good of a coach, at least right now, to keep getting these passes. You had expectations. You fired Bud because you had expectations. You fired Griffin because you had expectations. Doc is taking this ship and purposely sinking it. Like I can't believe this is the same Bucks organization that won a title 5 years ago. They don't seem like they care. He lost by 45. Well, at least he didn't lose by 46. Like if 46, we would have fired him. 45, no. It's like, where's the line cross? If there is going to be a new coach, I don't even know. Are we going to get one of these guys off the bench? I keep complaining about Dan Hurley because I don't like him, and people are like, "What if you got Dan Hurley?" Well, then I'm looking for a new NBA team. I don't know. I don't have that name. I don't have that name with LaFleur either, who I want fired. But what I would like is they had an expectation. Why don't you with Doc? Get back to that.
Yeah, get back to raising the bar. Raise the expectations. They thought they should have won.
Or don't even raise them. Just don't let them be nuked.
Yeah.
This season should have never gone this way. Ever. And Doc's a big part of why it did, I think.
Yeah, and if that story in the locker room after the Bulls loss is true about, him talking about.
Of course it's true.
Google.
That's the most Doc Rivers thing ever. I think who I am, Google me.
I saw all the reports that you see with Giannis being whatever. Now apparently Doc and Giannis are mad. My joke is maybe Giannis actually Googled Doc and saw exactly what he was getting in as a coach. But we do have some comments coming in. And I'm just going to throw them on the screen here. Your comment about Murphy. This is what this gentleman had to say.
Oh, Ben's a big supporter of the channel.
Yeah, Kurt of Milwaukee, game changer. And then Sam Cassell, and that's where he got the Mountain Dew from. I was wondering where that happened. So,
I try to buy Mountain Dew Zero, and then if I can't find that, I have to settle for this garbage.
Yeah. The zeros are so much better.
They're so much better.
I don't drink soda really much at all anymore unless I'm mixing it with drinks, and even then it has to be the zero.
Yeah. But I do like Diet Coke over Coke Zero.
Yeah.
But Coke Zero is good too.
You mentioned LaFleur. I'm going to go to the Packers here. Up until probably this past year, I'm not going to say I was a big supporter, like a big Matt LaFleur supporter, but I think I was giving him more leeway than I probably should have up until this past year, or the end of the year, losing 5 in a row. I think LaFleur has gotten them as far. Think of Mike Sherman. I'm going to compare him to Mike Sherman.
Yeah.
Mike Sherman came in after a road, stabilized things. I think Sherman got the Packers as far as he was possibly going to get them. They had to make a change. They brought in Mike McCarthy, and in 4 years later, 2006, about 4 years later, they win a Super Bowl because Sherman got them as far as he could. It took McCarthy and Thompson to get them over the hump. I think Goody and LaFleur have taken the Packers as far as they can possibly take them. I think they need somebody else to pull them over the hump.
I do too. The Packers don't.
Yeah, unfortunately.
The Packers, everything that was about with the will they or won't they, and apparently it was always a will they. The Packers know what Matt LaFleur is. They've had him for 7 years. They know what he's going to give you, and they signed up for more.
Yeah,
they like it. They like this because he'll give you. I saw somebody say this once. I wish I knew who because I steal it. If you have a 5-win football team, Matt LaFleur is going to coach that team up to 9 wins. He can do that. If you have a 13-win football team, Matt LaFleur is going to coach that team down to 9 wins. He will do that. My biggest thing to agree with what you just said was, let's give Matt LaFleur every benefit of the doubt for a season. He has a great season. Team's rolling. Nobody's hurt. They get the bye. Number 1 seed. Can we picture Matt LaFleur 3 games in a row, big games, divisional round, championship round, a week off, a new experience, which he's bad at, the Super Bowl? Can we picture a Matt LaFleur-led football team meeting the moment? They were up 21-3 against their rival, and they couldn't meet that moment. So why am I supposed to think that he can do that? If you want Matt LaFleur because he's a great regular season coach, fine. If you want him because you know you're going to have a weekend of playoff football and then, bites of the apple, fine. If you think that Matt LaFleur can win 3 big games in a row with a week off to get ready for the Super Bowl. We just do not see eye to eye. I just do not see it. I don't see it. I don't see it.
Before the first round of the playoffs, because you said a first round bye. So he has a week off for round 1 of the playoffs and the week off.
Yeah, that too.
To the Super Bowl.
And I'm being nice there because there's no way he's doing that 4 games in a row.
No.
But that's the thing. Like, they are a good team. They're a good franchise. He can win 9 to 10 games in the regular season. You just look back in these last 7 years and it's like, how did you lose to the Niners? How did you lose to the Buccaneers? How did you blow it against the Bears? And people, I've got as many problems with the Packers as I do with the Packers fans that have deemed this to be acceptable. Like, this is fine. This is great. Where is the standard there? Where is the standard? The Brewers right now, they're the team that's meeting the moment. And they're that 2010. I have 2010 vision. They're meeting the moment. They may, and they're probably the team that will never win. But they're trying the hardest. The Bucks are just haslaming it up. And the Packers have fallen in this, we just want to be a viable business and give our fans a winter of entertainment and passion, but not a Super Bowl. And that's where I have an issue.
Yeah, and I think so. LaFleur was, I feel, the right hire at the time. You got to give him credit for getting Rodgers refocused. For whatever reason, Rodgers got refocused. He won 2 MVPs. He turned Jordan Love into a very good to great ascending type quarterback. But as I said, I think he's taken them as far as he's going to go. For all the reasons you said, he's not going to take them over that hump to that. My opinion is if they ever do win the Super Bowl during Matt LaFleur, it's going to be in spite of him instead of because of him.
I would agree. And this year that they had, like, I know we were all feeling good. I was at that game in Denver. I went out there and we were feeling really good up at half. Then everybody gets hurt.
Good chunk of the third quarter was still feeling good.
So maybe that team wouldn't have won a Super Bowl. After the injuries, but just because Micah Parsons got hurt and Tucker Kraft got hurt, that doesn't you were up 20. You were up 21-3 against the Bears. All these conversations we've had since then. Oh, well, you weren't going to win a Super Bowl, Micah. You're making all these excuses for the team. They were up 21-3 against the Bears at halftime, and then they blew it in a way that only the Packers can. That is what I focus on more than Micah Parsons got hurt.
And if that was the only time it happened, fine, whatever. But a couple weeks prior to that, they were up on the Bears with a pretty good lead with a good not a lot of time left, and they ended up losing in overtime. They were up 12 or 13 points on the Broncos. They ended up losing. They were up 10-0 against the Browns, who couldn't move the football if their life depended on it. They lost 13 to 10. Yeah, 13-10. So it's like they always seem to find the dumbest and stupidest ways to lose. And you said something about Pat Murphy about 35 or so minutes ago. The players are reflective of their coach, and I think what we've seen of them not being able to get it done in the big moments, I think that's the coach.
Yeah, and I don't think that what had to go down in that locker room at 21-3 where you did not come out inspired, and the Bears did. If you're a coach and you're up 21-3 to the Bears, what did he say? What did he do? You either fire them up more or you just say, let these guys go. What did he do? He probably was like, same thing he was with the Badgers.
I was gonna say,
let's go, guys. Let's knock them dead. And then he swears to look cool. He's such a younger brother, man, with all due respect to mine and others. But he's such a younger brother.
Youngest, so.
He is trying to impress his friends, his older brother's friends. He's a younger brother, and that's a fine person to be, but Isn't he actually the older brother to Mike, though?
But I guess you could compare him to Kyle Shanahan because he was on the Mike Shanahan staff with McVay.
1/16 of the league is coached by a LaFleur. Why? It's disgusting.
So who wins more games this year, Mike LaFleur or Matt LaFleur?
Well, better be Matt.
Well, looking back on it, the last 2 times the Packers have won a Super Bowl, they've had a Mike as their head coach. I think they hired the wrong LaFleur.
I think they did too. You're right.
They should have hired Mike LaFleur instead.
I don't know even if we traded coaches right now, I don't know if I'd sign up for that either.
Yeah, I don't know enough about Mike LaFleur to really. I just saw what he did in New York, but as I've said about the Jets, I've said about the Cardinals, I've said about the Titans, there's just a few teams out there that you just give players and coaches the benefit of the doubt if they're in those organizations. The New York Jets are one of those organizations. If you play or coach for them and things don't go well, it never goes well with those organizations.
So you think Kyler's going to be good with the Vikings?
If he can stay healthy, he'll probably be better than J.J. McCarthy. But that's not saying a lot.
Yeah.
I think you or I would be a better option than J.J. McCarthy at this point.
I don't know. I've got a lot of weird old man injuries lately. I can't really run either.
Yeah.
Or throw.
I'm more looking at like your Gannon, who kind of seems to be a little awkward too.
Yeah.
Personality wise.
Well, Matt's not going to bring in somebody that's going to step on his toes.
He did that with a guy in Miami, He brought he brought in someone as everyone wanted him to be the head coach instead of LaFleur.
Yeah, LaFleur's not going to bring in anybody that's going to challenge his, whatever manliness he thinks he's portraying.
Yeah. When you look at the roster moves they've made, obviously they haven't made a lot because you got to protect those compensatory picks in 2027. Are they, as of now, assuming Micah Parsons and Tucker Kraft return to full health, are they better or worse than they were a year ago roster-wise?
I don't know. I think they're about the same. They made some good moves on defense, and then they lost some other guys. I think the offensive line is going to be a big question mark. We'll see what happens in the draft. I don't know. Like getting Micah, like we shouldn't dismiss that. They didn't, that came as a shock. So I think they'll be about the same. Maybe Jordan Love takes another step. I think we want to see. He's so good, but sometimes it's not. I don't know. I mean, maybe he needs to run more. I really like Jordan Love. I think
LaFleur handcuffs him too much.
I agree. So that would be. I want to see him play. I wanted Mike McCarthy back. I want to see Mike McCarthy with J Love, baby.
Because look at what Love did in the Dallas playoff game. I know it's been 2 years, but still, LaFleur let it loose, and look what Love did. Look what he did first half against Denver. That's probably the best quarterback play I've seen out of Jordan Love probably ever. Like, he was on fire. And it's like then we have games where we're going to force feed Josh Jacobs the ball 20 times and, Love's going to, throw the ball maybe 12 times. Like, just let it loose.
Well, it's the same thing like with Counsell. With Counsell, when he makes these decisions, maybe he is confident in them, but he's always, and LaFleur, he doesn't portray confidence.
No.
Murphy does. Fickle doesn't.
No.
Doc doesn't. And maybe you're not confident. And I guess that's fine. But there's only 30, 32, 120 pro coaches in our country. You got to hire people that they don't need to be like a man's man. They don't need to be like, oh.
Yeah, you don't need a dude in Detroit, but you need someone that's going to be
just have a guy who knows who he is, who knows what he wants.
Like Vrabel.
He can communicate that. Yeah. Like, Vrabel knows what he wants. That seems clear.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. You get a guy like Vrabel who knows what he wants and knows how to build it. Get him in there. something like that. But except for the off the field stuff recently.
Well, like I said, he knows what he wants, Evan.
But I know draft's a couple weeks away. Corner, O-line, D-line, the biggest positions people are kind of talking about with Green Bay. But I know with Goody, it's not always, the position people are talking about the most is usually the position that he actually doesn't address. As of right now, what position-wise, with pick number 52, do you think they go with?
Well, it's got to be on defense, right? Could they go O-line?
They could.
I want, you can still get a starter in day 2.
Yeah.
Where the Packers are. Maybe they can trade up a little bit in that second round. I think I want a guy who, when we draft, for like, not like, we don't have to convince ourselves. We can be like, oh, that guy looks like he's good. These other teams, they draft guys and it's like, oh, that's a perfect fit. And in Green Bay, it's a perfect fit if he's 5'11" as a corner and hurt. It's like, yeah, well, I am not deep in my draft. Is that at the end of the month? That is
a couple weeks.
I better prepare for that.
Yeah, I'm a little late preparing for it this year too. I just haven't really had the energy to.
I've been all. What have I been thinking about? I don't know. The draft's at the end of the month. Huh?
WrestleMania's coming up too.
That's what has been my focus.
No, but I would like to see a new corner, another corner in the room, I should say. I think Keyshawn Nixon is fine in the room, but not as your number one corner. And I think you got to upgrade the talent there. Carrington Valentine couldn't tackle my 90. Is it she 92 now? 92-year-old grandmother. Like, he couldn't tackle her. And I like this guy they signed, but I still think you need another body in that row. You're not going to go on a Super Bowl magic carpet ride reference 2010 with Keyshawn Nixon and Carrington Valentine being your top 2 corners. That's just not going to happen. Not saying a rookie is going to make it happen, but you got to get more competition in that room.
Yeah, maybe you're not going to draft the missing piece, but you can draft plenty of guys that will make an impact. I'm tired of looking back at drafts and be like, oh, we should have obviously taken that guy.
Yeah, like JSN instead of Lucas Van Ness.
Yeah. Oh, Jordan Morgan. Yay. Okay. Well,
I think Morgan will be fine. It's have to wait 3 years to watch him finally play, but I think he'll be a fine left tackle. But again, we shouldn't have to wait 3 years to watch him play.
Agree. I
know his rookie year he hurt his shoulder or whatever, but like he should have been the left tackle last year. But heaven forbid, we don't have enough guys that can actually play guard, so we got to put Jordan Morgan there because Rasheed Walker can't play anything but left tackle. So we got to try to play him out left guard or right guard instead.
Yeah, versatility is good on the line, but the Packers it's like a patchwork job all the time.
I get the Packers have a history of taking guys that play tackle in college and putting them inside the guard. TJ Lang, as an example, but if you're going to draft those guys, they got to be able to play guard too.
Yeah. Not this is what we do, but this is what this guy can do.
Because the depth at offensive line the last 2 or 3 years have just been bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not to the point where LaTroy Guion has to play guard bad, but it's been bad.
Yeah, they can usually assemble a good 5, but one guy gets hurt, and then you are putting square pegs in round holes.
Fortunately, Morgan could play a decent right tackle when Zach Tom got hurt again. And fortunately, Sean Ryan could play a decent center when Elton Jenkins, who was not playing center very good anyways, when he got hurt. But offensive line definitely needs to be addressed. I think round 2 they end up going a D lineman personally. I think that's either D lineman or edge is what I think they go. But
round 2 usually is like a run will happen. Like a cornerback run will happen. I always feel like right around pick 40, there's a run of somebody. Maybe it won't be defense. Maybe a receiver. Maybe receiver. Yeah, but there's always second round, middle of second round. There's always some sort of run. So we'll see how they do out of that.
Finally, Badgers basketball team bows out in the first round again, and football team. Well, do we really want to go there? Thoughts on the current status of Badger basketball and football? Again, I think it's time for a move there in both sports, or let's see what next year brings.
It's tough because like the same things I'll criticize LaFleur on basically is what's happening with guard. Good regular season, and then whatever, it falls apart in the playoff, in the tournament. And this five seed's not doing them any favors.
He's just not a good tournament coach.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I still think recruiting in the state, it sucks watching these guys go elsewhere when they're so good.
Yeah, usually Iowa State.
I mean, they're in your backyard for both sports. I think basketball, if you're competitive, you'll have a run. You will in basketball with that format. You'll get a run. You'll get a Sweet 16 run. With football, football used to be fun because you would watch every game, and I would be so into this. I'm talking 4-team playoff. It was one year the Badgers almost made it, but they'd be a really good team, and you'd have great hopes until they lost the game, because then they'd probably be screwed. And the loss was always like a bad loss, BYU coming in here jumping around. Now there's more like wiggle room, but the Badgers are 2-2 before October. It's like, well, we're not going to do anything. I just want that back where it's like, I mean, they didn't even make a bowl game. They can't even beat Minnesota. I just want to get into I just want to get into the Badgers again. I'm not expecting anything, but I want to be like, I want to be better than this.
Well, on a positive side, their schedule.
But then, like, if hockey does so well, the men are tomorrow, right?
Yep, men are tomorrow. Women.
And the women won, and the volleyball team's great.
They lost in the championship.
So the school athletically is doing well, but you have the two programs that everybody cares about the most, and you don't have a baseball team. I still don't understand that.
It's like 89 or 91, somewhere in that time frame was the last time they had a baseball team.
Because a lot of people will bypass any of this conversation to just go into Chris McIntosh and talk about the AD.
Yeah.
But if I'm him, I'm like, look at what I'm doing. Just, it's the sports you don't pay $180 to come to a game for or watch on TV.
Women's basketball had a good first half of the year before they fell apart, and they made it to the championship game of whatever was a championship or semifinal game, whatever tournament they were in.
Yeah, the NIT.
It wasn't the NIT. It was one of the other ones that they do in college basketball. It was like,
is there a women's college basketball crown? I don't think there is.
I think it's just like the women's basketball tournament or something. I don't know. I know it wasn't the WNIT. I forget what they were in, but
who won the college basketball crown?
I will say though, for football, they have a much easier schedule this year. If the quarterback can actually stay healthy for a change, maybe they could get to a bowl game. And then we talk about in-state recruiting. Well, they have almost like, if you go to the top 10 players in the state, they have all but I think 2. And one of them they had no chance of getting anyways because Flanagan is that is a Notre Dame royalty.
Yeah. So. Yeah, run the football, get big beefy guys up front. It is. It's like, all right, here's our new quarterback. How's he going to do? And it's always Aaron Rodgers on the Jets.
They always get hurt in the first couple games of the year, and then they have to go to the backup, and then the backup to the backup, and then the backup to the backup to the backup. What they had to do this year.
It's really hard to get into college football when you don't have a steady quarterback. That's really hard.
Or when you don't have a Melvin Gordon or a Ron Dane or a Ball or a Jonathan Taylor that's going to just be super explosive, and you can win a Big Ten championship in Rose Bowl with a Mike Samuel.
Yeah. We're a long way from that right now.
Yeah. I'll take Mike Samuel right now at this point.
We're like Bart Houston.
Yeah. Scott Tolzien.
Yeah. A lot of good ones.
But yeah, I appreciate you coming on, Bart. It's been fun. Love to get you on again soon and So I look over at X, and the first thing there is Jim Rome, and the caption is Doc Rivers to the Bucks. Google me. That's probably the line of the year.
Yeah.
But anyways, I appreciate you coming on. One last plug to your show that you do, and let you get on your way. It's been an hour already.
Into the Winklerverse, wherever you get your podcast. Otherwise, just find me and follow me. Bart Winkler Show.
Well, if you don't want to look at Bart and I for an hour, the audio version of the show will drop tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. It'll be anywhere you get your podcast. You can listen to the audio version there. Otherwise, you can find it on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. Every show I've ever done, you can find on YouTube and Twitter. Facebook, they like taking them down for some reason after a while. Facebook is weird, but leave it at that. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for your guy for interacting with us. And last thing he said here, just to put that up for you. Appreciate the support. And in the end, he did follow me on YouTube, so I appreciate that. But
if we've accomplished anything, it's that.
Got another YouTube follow. But appreciate you all watching, and I'll be back at it next week and figure out what to talk about from there. Have a great rest of your night and weekend, everybody.